What's happening, guys? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we're doing it. We're finally doing it, the first rookie mock draft of the 2023 season. Looking forward to it. We're going to do one round. That way we can get to know these guys a little bit. But here's a guy that you're never really going to have to get to know because you know him already. He is my co-host. He is, in fact, the man of the hour and the man with the power. Jerry Sinclair, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing, man. And absolutely the person that you would never pick in the first round. But I am doing absolutely fantastic. It's good to be sitting here with you again. And on a day where we get to mock draft, my first mock draft, I have been waiting. I have been restraining myself and not just venturing out into the public so that I can do this. So I could do it with my main man, the myth, the legend himself, Randers.
Speaking of Randers, we'll jump into Randers. Actually, this is a two-way tie-in. So I have done one mock draft, but it was a startup mock draft, but it did include the rookies. So we were able to weave these guys in. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago with the guy. Speaking of Randers, our buddy John Sheps over at Toilets to Titles. They did a mock draft. It was myself, John Labe, John Sheps. I'm drawing a blank on the other gents that took part in that mock. But if you go to the Toilet to Titles YouTube page, you'll find it. It was on a Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, and you can see where we were weaving those rookies in. And speaking of YouTube, if you're watching live on YouTube, you'll notice that there is no mock board. So I tried to go into Sleeper. Jerry, they do not have mock drafts up yet, at least not on the app.
See, that's why we can't have nice things, man.
It feels criminal. Now, in fairness to Sleeper, I could do a mock draft for one of our patron leagues. Mm-hmm. So when I was testing this theory earlier, I could do a mock and I could do a startup mock with existing players, or I can do a mock based on the way that my picks would lay out. In the one I looked at today was patron 12. And I was like, this is not exactly what we're trying to do. So we're going to do a mock draft. We're going to do one round, one simple round. We're going to do super flex. We're going to do tight end premium. And we're going to see where some of these pieces fall out. But I've got lots of newness and I've got lots of goodness for you. But Jerry, I know a particular segment that you used to love. It's called Good People, Bad Tweets. Are you familiar?
I am, and I still love it.
Well, we're going to give that a break for a while. We're gonna have people stop blocking us on social media. Speaking of social media, you can follow us everywhere at Dynasty WarZone on literally everything. The big ones for us, the ones that really help Jerry and I, is the YouTube channel. YouTube, subscribe. See, if you were subscribed to the YouTube channel, you could have already listened to this. And it would be a super beneficial thing for us, as well as rating and reviews. So, Jerry, you do know that our patron, codenamed Joe, he won a patron league, much like you did, by the way. And Joe said, you know what? Take those winnings and let's put someone on scholarship. I'm going to pay for all the patron leagues that I'm in, and I'm going to put someone on scholarship. So what's that mean? He's going to pay your year's dues to be in the patron, and you're going to get an orphan courtesy of Joe. Now, Jerry, you weren't here last week when I was recording with Bruce Mattson. I made a decision on the fly, and I hope that you're okay with this. But if you want to be entered into win the patron Scully, as I'm calling it, SCHOLLY, Scully, best I got. So you can go to iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube and leave a review on Spotify or iTunes. Just type in Scully and your email address. That's all I need. And on YouTube, you can comment on one of our videos, Scully, and your I guess email. Email is the word. I guess Twitter would work, but prefer email. Leave your email. We'll get you entered. And thanks to Joe, we're going to put someone on scholarship. Now, I see our good friend Mike, and I don't want to let Mike down. He loves Good People, Bad Tweets, but just for Mike, because we're not going to do that tonight. It was on hood. I didn't have the old soundboard up very loud. You know what, Jerry? This is what you're dealing with on live radio.
The Crip Mac on hood.
He just got it set up on his phone already.
Well, it's like I'm trying to like produce the show, edit the show, do all of the things.
And I'm just trying to half-ass co-host it. It's a nice gimmick for me.
Well, Jerry, that's because you're handsome. So you can get away with it because you are so handsome. But in substitute of good people, bad tweets, we're gonna come up with something new. Because Jerry, what season are we in right now? A rookie season.
Non-point scoring season.
Non-point season. We are in non-point scoring season. We are in rookie season. Rookie season is the best season. And so what I'm going to do is I did this on Twitter the other day, and I got a lot of traction from this. Now, if we see good people, bad tweets, Jerry and I will 100% hold the offending parties accountable. Can we agree to that, Jerry?
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't seen many super terrible ones, at least. Give it time.
But this was because, I'm a Will Levis guy. A little spoiler alert to the draft. I'm a Will Levis guy. I'm an unapologetic toolsy guy. If you come to the draft and you have tools in your tool belt, awesome. I love, Josh Allen was one of my biggest hits ever. I have Josh Allen on so many leagues, and I was way out ahead of consensus on Josh Allen. But also, I was way out ahead of consensus on Sam Darnold. You hit some, you miss some, but I love me a toolsy quarterback. So the other day, I pulled up a review, a pre-draft review of a player, and I read it on the internet, and it was about a big toolsy quarterback from Lance Zierlein, and he had like a round 1 to 2 grade on him, talking about how he didn't play in structure, he would drive a coach crazy, needed to land in the right system, and that quarterback ended up being Patrick Mahomes. And people were guessing. I was like, so I blacked out his name. I posted the picture on Twitter, and people were like, it's Josh Allen, it's Zach Wilson. It's like, no, it's Patrick Mahomes. And the point of doing this, and I'm going to read one here in a second and make Jerry guess of who this player is. The point of doing this is to remind everybody that that being me and Jerry, the consensus, everybody who does this, they're going to get as many of these wrong as they get right. So instead of taking one person's opinion, my opinion, Jerry's opinion, Ray Garvin, Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, Lance Zierlein, the guys at the Dynasty Nerds, pick anybody. Don't take anybody's one opinion on a player. Get as many opinions as possible and craft your own draft board. And I think that you'll be very excited and very, very well prepared, Jerry. What do you think about that thought?
That's exactly what I do, because I don't trust a damn one of y'all, myself included.
Well, all right.
Well, I consume so much.
Well, let's get into this, man. Let's see how good you are. Now, this guy
I'm nervous.
Was a wide. This guy is a wide receiver. He didn't die, so he's still currently with us. He's a wide receiver, but I'm gonna take out the things that would make you understand who he is. Okay.
Okay.
Blank's explosiveness and big playability is unquestioned, but he might find that the transition from his college scheme to what he will see in the pros will take time to get used to. He had success with short catch and run passes combined with go routes to maximize his talents at college. With NFL hash marks, he won't have as much free room to work with. He'll be facing much faster and physical competition across from him. We haven't even delved into the question of whether or not his quarterback can put it back together this season. His emergence might have to wait a year or longer in the league. Jerry, I'm a wide receiver. Who am I?
Okay, you got to give me a time frame at least, like
within the last 6 years.
Okay, so that puts us at 2017. I feel like would you set me up for failure immediately is the question.
Yes.
Corey Davis.
Close. You got the first name right. It's Corey Coleman.
Jesus.
I
Yeah,
did
you
that on
definitely were
purpose to be
setting
an
me up for failure.
I
Yeah,
did it on purpose to be an asshole because I know you have a checkered past with Corey Coleman,
I do.
but that was from Lance Zierlein, and I'm going to use Lance Zierlein a lot. First of all, I have the utmost respect for Lance Zierlein,
Yeah.
how he rates and reviews players. I'm not going to hold Lance accountable for perfection. My point is that we hear these things, and you heard positives about explosiveness, run after catch, etc. Good go ball, but can he put it all together at the NFL level? That is going to be consensus for what we see a lot. So we'll be doing one of those a show. And speaking of one of those a show, so if you were on the YouTube channel, subscribed, you would have caught this show on Sunday night. Maybe you watched it Monday morning as you were on the way to work, or hopefully not driving and watching YouTube. That would be bad. But listening's fine. You would have known that on Monday night, Garrett Price from the Dynasty Nerds going to come back by and talk more running backs with me. So bonus coverage coming up. And Jerry, all this is to say that all of this bonus is brought to you by the Patreon. Patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. And not only can you get in a great group chat, not only can you hang out with me and Jerry, all the patrons, you get bonus stuff. I'll get into the patron bonus stuff here in a second. Jerry, they could play in the league with you.
Yeah, and lose, but at least they'll get the experience. That's fun.
Well, I mean, you did take their money in one of our patrons. I did not this year. I had a rough go. I finished second. We agreed to split in one league. Out of the ones I did not set the world on fire. But right now, new patrons, while supplies last, you can hit me up in the DMs. We'll hook you up with an orphan. We have 4 left. We had a new patron join just literally a day or so ago, and his name's Austin. He already picked up an orphan, Jerry. How about that?
Well, I mean, it's like a drug. Dynasty leagues are like a drug. I don't blame him.
He can come in here, he can mix it up. And, we always talk about, what else can we give these patrons? What else can we include for their support? Well, I've reinvested in some technology that you often hear Jerry and I say, well, before I hit the record button or after we hit the record button. Going forward now, I can record everything. So I'll edit that out of this broadcast that you're listening to via podcast or via YouTube. And I'm going to stitch that together along with my conversation tomorrow night before I hit record with Garrett. And I'm going to post that for our patrons on Tuesday morning. Jerry, how about that?
Listen, that's where, honestly, the meat and potatoes of the show and the production happens. So,
and the things that we don't,
lots and lots of shenanigans too. But.
Well, tonight before we hit record, we talked about a couple of trades. You traded the 101. You traded for the 101 and then traded that same 101 away. I traded away T. Higgins. I was out walking it like I talk it. I said I was going to trade for Mac Jones. I traded for Mac Jones in a patron league. Guys, all of this to say is patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Come over. We're not raising the price. We're trying to create more things to make it more enticing to join and make it more fun and interactive for you. I think if you've been in a Patreon or you've done anything like that, I think for what you get with our group, you'll get a maximum amount of value for your money. So there you go, Jerry. That is a previous draft review brought to you by the Patreon. Do you feel silly? Are you mad that I picked Corey Coleman?
No, I honestly, as I was hearing it, I sort of figured you were going to try and take a stab at me one way or another. That's why Corey Davis popped into my head. But let me just say about not raising the Patreon, we're like the good people at Arizona Iced Tea. We say piss off inflation. We're keeping it a flat rate. We're putting the price on our cans, so even the gas station can't raise it if they want to.
Jerry, I got a nice set of cans. But the whole point of the patron is just to cover the operating costs of Dynasty and content creation, and until we can do more with the YouTube, that is the point. But the point of this show, Jerry, is to do a mock draft. Now, very rarely will I admit this, but I'm going to admit this live and in living color on this podcast. If you're watching live on YouTube, Jerry's beard currently looks way nicer than mine. Now my beard's clean. I don't have an Andrew Luck. I don't have a neck beard. But Jerry, you look very stately right now. You look like a man about town. So
I think Iowa is rubbing off on me. I got like the flannel on, the plaid on.
How are those? I mean, Mrs. Jerry doesn't listen. How are the farmers' daughters?
No comment.
No comment. Well, I mean, I'm not trying to get Jerry in trouble, but there's the old farmer's daughter. So we're going to keep Jerry out of trouble. We're going to make his life a little bit easier, Jerry. I'm going to give you the 101. I'm going to give you a layup. Now, remember, this is super flex. This is tight end premium. No, you can't trade out. What are you doing with the 101? I think there's a pretty clear answer.
See, you think there's a clear answer, and I don't. Like, I'm going to take him just because I don't know, as far as a prospect is concerned, Bijan Robinson's going to be the guy. But there is a lot of me that really thinks taking a running back 101 over two potentially long-term quarterbacks is a bozo move. But I'm still going to take Bijan just because he's going to get draft capital. He's a great talent. He can do everything you want to do, yada, yada, yada. And if you get a Saquon, Christian McCaffrey type prospect, even if the quarterbacks end up hitting, you'll be able to flip them for a shitload.
I don't want to belabor a mock draft show with talking about trades, but let's be honest, we all love trades. I love trades. I know Jerry also loves trades. I would be going to the guy who has the 102 or anyone that, because you should be actively following your league mates on social media, whether it's the group chat, Twitter, Instagram, wherever they're talking about football. If someone in your league is a big Bijan fan, if they're a UT, maybe you're in a league with Matthew McConaughey. All right. And if I was in a league with Matthew McConaughey, Jerry, do you know what team McConaughey roots for?
The Longhorns, man.
The Longhorns, man. So maybe I go to McConaughey and be like, hey, you know what? Give me your 103, because I don't think Matthew plays much. He should listen to more Dynasty WarZone, to be honest.
Sure.
But, I would say give me your best running back in the 103 for Bijan. Maybe I don't think I'm getting a Breece Hall, but I mean, maybe I'm getting Javonte Williams in the 103. I'm still adding a running back to my team, but I really, really want to add that quarterback. So what are your thoughts, Jerry? I mean, you can't trade out, but what are your thoughts when I say that? I'm looking to get the bag, as the kids say.
Yeah. I mean, I like you said, I can't trade out of it right now. So I got to take Bijan. But in general, I think I am team trade the pick. I think whenever it's a running back at the top of the board and it's a running back that people have loved for multiple years, the hype becomes too much that I can always profit off of it. So I think I'm team trade the pick rather than ride him out, but that's me.
Yeah, I have to agree. And so what I know right now, like I said, this is not even February. As you're listening to this show, it is officially February. It's February 1st. That's when this show will drop. But as we're recording this, it's still January. And we don't know where these guys are going to be drafted, Jerry. But a guy that that I like, and I am probably going to be way too early on this, but unless I don't have my quarterback shit together on this roster, my number 2 in this class is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I am absolutely smitten with him.
This man said smitten. That's how you know he's smitten.
I mean, I understand we're all supposed to love Bijan. He's the size, speed, he's the physical package. But I'm no Matt Waldman. I'm no film grinder. That's not what I do. But I sat down and watched a handful of videos on Jahmyr Gibbs play football, and it is fun. It is so much fun. The way that he plays the modern game. And I said this last year about Garrett Wilson. A lot of people had Drake London as the wide receiver 1 in the class last year. Mm-hmm. And I remember what I said. I didn't like his injury profile. And I said that I like the way that Garrett Wilson played football. He plays it in a manner that football is played in 2022, now 2023. It just fits better. It translates better to what is going to lead to fantasy points, which is exactly why I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs here over a quarterback. I think there's enough quarterbacks in this draft that I can maybe get one. If I had the 102 and I have the 202, I'm thinking to myself, you know what, maybe an Anthony Richardson falls to me there and I can reach in my quarterback there. But just seeing the way this guy plays football, could he play the game like Alvin Kamara? Could he play it like Christian McCaffrey? You know, that running, wide receiving threat. He'd be like a nice tandem for somebody. So it's going to get weird at the running back position very quickly in Dynasty, but I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs, Jerry. I wanted to go quarterback. I wanted to, but I didn't.
No, I think it's fine. I think most people will tell you that he comps to Alvin Kamara. And then the people that sniff their own farts will tell you that it's not trendy to, oh, of course you're comparing him to Kamara. He looks like him. I mean, he's roughly the same size. He's a good pass catcher. He did it in the SEC. Listen, is he going to amount to that? I don't know. But it's not a terrible pick. I think there's the first four guys that we're going to name are probably going to be the first four guys that go in just about every draft for the most part. And for the third one, I'm just going to go Bryce Young. Because I get a former Heisman winner from Alabama. And listen, you have a lot of talent at Alabama, and it makes your life easier to be the quarterback at Alabama. Tua ain't been that bad. Jalen Hurts looks pretty good. I mean, Mac Jones, we've talked about him a shitload on this podcast. I mean, these guys play in the NFL. They're fantasy relevant. And he has looked pretty damn good, and I would be thrilled to get him at 3.
All right, let me ask you a question. Now, this is January. Is there a spot that Will Levis or C.J. Stroud could land in that would push you ahead of Bryce Young today? Obviously, you're drafting the pedigree of Bryce Young. Is there a guy that could make you, is there a landing spot that could push that guy ahead of Young that moves Stroud or Levis ahead?
There is probably not a chance that Levis can do it. I think him and Stroud are the same. The only reason I put Bryce Young there is because Stroud has literally had some of the best wide receivers that college football has had. I mean, this guy had last year, he had JSN, Garrett Wilson, and Olave. Like that's silly. And this year he had, Marvin Harrison Jr., who's probably going to be the guy we take at 102 or 103 next year in rookie drafts. When
he's next year's 101 right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. So he has had all of the shiniest, prettiest toys. He is a pampered up in his ivory tower playing with his toys. I mean, not to say Bryce Young hasn't, right? He's from Alabama. He has for sure. So that I'm just going to separate it because of that. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if either of these guys went 101 overall. It would not shock me for 1 second.
So I'm going to go ahead and make my pick because it will tag along to your pick. I'm going Will Levis. And the reason why I would have him, I'm just going to draft the tools guy. I'm not going to draft safe and sturdy. Neither Bryce Young nor C.J. Stroud bring the rushing floor of a Justin Fields. And I don't love the size. I mean, and I tweeted this the other day. How many Power 5, now you remember, think about this, Power 5 powerhouse teams that have produced quarterbacks that are right around 6 foot and 200 pounds, how many of those quarterbacks have thrived? Baker has not done well. Tua played better this year, always hurt. Kyler Murray, he started off good. Where are we at now? So you're kind of seeing a trend of these sub, 200 pound, right at, we'll call it 200, and right at 6 foot, give or take. Give me the big guy. Give me the big guy who was out there scrapping, doing everything to win. You listen to the character stuff, and I know that shouldn't matter for football, but it's the same stuff that I loved about Justin Herbert. So if I'm going to take a swing on a quarterback in a super flex draft, I don't want to hit a double. I want to hit a home run. I can trade for a double. We talked about before I hit the record button. I can trade for Mac Jones. I can trade for Brock Purdy. You can get doubles other spots in a dynasty league. If I'm going to take a shot this early in a draft on a QB, I want to take the guy that I think can be the home run. And for me, the home run in this draft, because he has the rushing upside, is Will Levis, Jerry.
he eats a banana with the peel. How? How
Jerry,
am I to trust a human being?
He puts mayonnaise in coffee.
That's I didn't know that. That's not as repulsive.
That's what I'm saying.
This man eats a banana with a peel. Randy,
I've
are you going to
seen
bring that to the combine and tell me he doesn't have red flags?
You know, from what I've read and some of the research I've done on him, he has like that alpha bros thing, that dude's dude. I mean, we all, whether we want to admit it or not, and maybe some of us are that guy, but very few of us are that guy. That there's a certain magnetism that other big time college football players see in this guy and they gravitate toward him. It's the same thing they said about Justin Herbert at the Senior Bowl, that he was the guy that when he sat down at the lunch table, the other guys wanted to sit with him. That's the qualities that you hear about Will Levis, eating bananas with the peels on it, notwithstanding. So that is my number 4 pick, Jerry. So we're going to make 2 more picks, and then I will do a recap.
Okay, I'm going to do CJ Stroud just because this is an easy one for me. He could also be my 101. So if I could get him here, I would be thrilled. I think we are probably 1 or 2 more picks away from a big tier, in my opinion, with this class. So I'm going to stick with him. Listen, the dude has been highly productive. He has had all the prettiest, shiniest toys in the world, but he's been good with them. And he easily could have beaten Michigan, and Ryan Day was an absolute disaster and cost them those games. But the ceiling was much higher for the Buckeyes, and they didn't perform when they should have in the biggest games, but it wasn't because CJ Stroud struggled. I would be happy with Stroud, especially in this spot, honestly.
I have no problem with you taking Stroud here. I was not sold on him, and I don't want to become the victim of the moment. But that game he played against Georgia in the semifinals of the national championship tournament, he really did a good job of mixing in his legs more. And not only did I see it, but I've read it. You know, that was like one of the things that's like, you know, fans and analysts wanted to see Stroud do more. Not that he needs to be Justin Fields or Josh Allen, but just use his mobility and run for that extra 5 yards here or there and use the mobility that he has. But, you know, where I would love to see him, Indianapolis former head coach Frank Reich landed in Carolina. Yeah. I would love to see Stroud. I don't think he'll last till 8 where they're currently drafting, but that would be a spot, man. I think Carolina is going to be a player in this draft to go up and get their guy. Although I wouldn't also be surprised if Carolina, who lost, oh my gosh, the guy from Mississippi State, he got hurt. And I'm drawing a blank. Matt Carroll. Thanks, Jerry. I'm glad you're there on the spot. Yep. Matt Carroll.
Got you.
Why he's the man of the hour, the man with the power. I mean, what do you tell you?
Mississippi, though. Not
was it Mississippi? My apologies. But they may want to see what they have with him. But at any rate, I really like CJ Stroud. I think he's my 2. I actually have Bryce Young as my 3.
I'm fine with that.
Here's the thing. You don't weigh 200 pounds. You know, I mean, in this, I don't want to hold Bryce Young accountable for Tua's sins, but we've seen small quarterback guy just get crushed at the NFL level. You know, that's part of the reason why I like Levis. Part of the reason why I like Josh Allen. It's part of the reason why I like Cam. Maybe I have I like Sam Darnold. Maybe I have a type. What do you want me to do? I like 6'3" plus. I like 240 plus. I like some big, Jerry. I like some big, and CJ Stroud fits the big. But this next guy will probably surprise you. He's going to be the first wide receiver off the board, and I am going to take him. I have loved this guy since last year. I loved him with Kenny Pickett. I loved him with Caleb Williams. I loved him in the ACC. I loved him in the Pac-12. It just translates, man. And I think he's going to wind up in a really good spot. And kind of the same thing that I said about Garrett Wilson really playing that modern style game of football. Man, that's Jordan Addison. Give me Jordan Addison. I know I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. I like Quentin Johnston. These guys are great. But you know what? I think this is the guy, especially if he lands in a very wide receiver needy / up, like hypothetically, Green Bay keeps Aaron Rodgers and they drafted Jordan Addison. I think that's super duper. Yes, sir. So he's translated. He's played in pro systems. He's played in just about every kind of, variety of offense that he could really play in. So for me, would I love him to gain 10, 15 pounds and be $175? Be more than $175? Sure, I would. But what has the Slim Reaper Devonta Smith taught us? It's really about scheme and fit. And so for me, it's Jordan Addison, sir.
You're not going to hear any bitching from me on that one. I mean, dude was awesome with Kenny Pickett. Dude was awesome this year. And I think you saying that he fits the modern NFL in the same sort of way that Garrett Wilson is a perfect explanation for his game. He's just a dude that can play and can beat the guy across from him. And he's not jump ball guy. Like he's not like where you have to worry if that's going to translate to the NFL, because the guy can just straight up beat people. So I'm fine with that.
Well, you're on the clock, sir. Make your pick.
Well, we got to do a recap. I was waiting.
Oh, you know what? I did. All right. So pick number 1, Jerry went Bijan Robinson. Pick number 2, I went Jamar Gibbs. Pick number 3, Jerry went Bryce Young. Pick number 4, I went with Will Levis. Pick number 5, Jerry went with CJ Stroud. And pick number 6, I went with Jordan Addison. Jerry, thank you for reminding me to do that recap. So you're on the clock, 107.
Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's one of those picks where I'm not trading it. I'm picking in 1.1 second, because there's nothing that somebody's going to offer me that I think is going to be better than that pick if I could get him at 107. He's probably a dude I would take at like 104, 105, depending on how the draft lands.
Where would you take him in a 1 QB? So obviously you got those. So I guess if we throw out the 3 quarterbacks, you take him
as high as 102 and as low as 103, probably, maybe 104. I have him ahead of Jordan Addison, but for now, we'll see how the draft shakes out and how the combine and yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, those guys are 1A and 1B for me. Go ahead.
Nothing about this recent report from a Todd McShay saying that he's like a wide receiver 3 type in the NFL. None of that bothers you. I mean, again, we read the pre NFL draft report at the beginning of the show for a wide receiver. So I'm not going to let it sway me. I want to see what more people say, but no concern with that at all.
No, because I watched that man put Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the fucking back burner. And those guys are 2 guys that I would love to have as cornerstone pieces of my Dynasty roster. And he made them look silly as a freshman. I mean, that's an animal. And if I can get him, I mean, I don't want to say he's potentially one of these, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson type prospects, but I don't think he's very far from it. If he could come out looking like Devonta Smith, I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. Like I would be, if I ended a draft with JSN and that was the only draft pick I made in the whole rookie draft, I would be thrilled with what I got. I mean, Garrett Wilson as an upperclassman, Chris Olave as an upperclassman, and this 18-year-old kid's going to come in there and act a fool? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'll take that. Wide receiver 3 in the NFL, my ass.
All right, you heard a very fired up, a very, very passionate Jerry.
And let me just say, I think this is sort of the tear break for me when it comes to this class.
You know what? Normally, I like to whip out the old junk piece and piss all over the fire that is the hype of a given.
How many more you got?
I have at least 2 more running backs and 1 wide receiver. And look at this guy set me up perfectly. What a co-host! And because it's tight end premium, what we're doing tonight, I'm going to go Michael Mayer. Right now, 108 Michael Mayer. I know there's a lot of good tight ends in this class. I've not done my tight end research. I'm going to put my hand up and say, guys, ladies and gents, it's not even February as we record this show, so I have plenty of time to do my tight end research. But I do know enough to know that this guy is the real deal. Now, the one thing about drafting tight ends, see, this is the part of the draft where at the 108, maybe you have an aging guy. Maybe you have a Kelsey. Now, if you had Kelsey, you probably should have done better than 108. But maybe you have a guy. Maybe you band-aided your tight end position along. Maybe you've got George Kittle. Okay, you got to get a good playoff run. But George Kittle's like 28, 29. And even if it takes Mayer a year or two to really pop, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I don't expect my rookie tight ends to come out and ball, because when you do, you wind up in Kyle Pitts situations. So I think it may be a tad early, but I'm not going to let a guy that I really want as a contender. Remember, if you finish 107 through 112, unless you traded your pick, you are a contender last year. So I'm going to get a guy that I can keep me contending for years to come. I like what I've seen on Michael Mayer. I like what I've read on Michael Mayer. It's easier to say Michael Meyer, the Halloween guy. Maybe I'll get the Halloween music. Give me like a little knife. But I'm going to go Michael Mayer. It's like Michael Meyer and John Mayer had a kid. So I'll draft Michael Mayer.
Randy, I hate it. I hate it. The tight end position has just infuriated me over the last half of a decade. We have seen tight end hype. Usually we get it every year. Sometimes there's a gap, right? Like Kyle Pitts, 103-esque guy, has not turned out. TJ Hawkinson, coming along, took a long time. OJ Howard.
He's there now. Ingram. We had to get TJ Hawkinson out of Honolulu Blue. Just saying.
I mean, but like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I got to wait 4 years. I got to wait 5 years. Like, first round picks are just so valuable for me that I don't think I can use one on a tight end. Now, it's different if I'm in a 2 tight end league. Like, if we're in the money league, yeah, this is a perfect spot for him. I cannot waste a first round pick on him anymore. I thought Kyle Pitts was going to be a no-brainer, right? Like, that was an elite guy. He was practically a wide receiver, and he was going to get tight end points. Hawk, for the most part, like Hawk's been good. What did he get this year? 800 yards.
All I know is he was the tight end 2 in all,
which is cool, which is good enough for wide receiver 36 or something. Like, it just, yeah.
I understand your pessimism, Jerry. It's okay.
No, it's fun. No. It is no longer pessimism. It is fundamental hatred for tight end hype in rookie drafts, because the only one that's really turned out is Mark Andrews, and I don't even think Mark Andrews was a first round pick that year he came out. I'm pretty sure we were taking him in the second, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was in that like 206, give or take, in tight end premium,
and like Dallas Goedert too. Like, he was. Same sort of thing. I hate it with everything in me. But my 9th pick is, I'm going to take running backs in this spot, just because if they can get playing time, they're just gonna be valuable. Even if I don't really love them, even though I don't dislike this guy at all. It's Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, formerly from Michigan. I'm going to say a comp, and I don't want it to be a bad thing because this guy was a good prospect when he came out, but he's very Darius Geis. Like, he plays violently. He's a big guy. He can get moving. He can catch the ball. If he lands in a spot where he's going to get an opportunity, I think he's going to be productive with it. And I am not a huge fan of the little guy. And there's a couple of them in this class who are really fast, and you think that if they can catch some passes, they'll be okay, but they just can't break tackles. And Zach Charbonnet does a good job of that. So I'm going to take him here, and I don't know if I'd be thrilled to take him at 109, but I also wouldn't be upset with it.
Okay. Well, I listen, when you get to these running backs, once you get past, to me, once you get past Gibbs and once you get past Robinson, it's I
agree.
It's a beauty's in the eye of the beholder situation. Yes. And, I'm waiting for the first guy. I'm hoping and praying that somewhere out there, someone pronounces his name Charbonnet. I'll take that there, Zach Charbonnet. I'm sorry, who? Yeah, that there's Zach Charbonnet. He's the same guy who orders a filet mignon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the filet mignons are delicious.
Oh,
the one thing I will say about Charbonnet that I am worried about is it seems like watching him play, his most used move is the shake and bake. And while that may work in college, I think a linebacker or a safety is just going to eat that boy up if he tries the shake and bake. That's a technical term also.
Is that like Ricky Bobby? First, you got to shake it before. Well, you know, if you listen to last week's show with Bruce Mattson, you know, that was one of my criticisms on Charbonnet is that, man, lose the shake and bake. Lose the shake and bake, put your head down, and just blast. Remember, you're 220 pounds. You're not Jahmyr Gibbs. You're not, 5'10", 200 pounds. You're 6'1", 220. Act like it. Run like it. Take that safety
a little bit
and smash him.
Of James Conner too. He's like a James Conner, Darius Geis kind of guy. So that's what I would like to see him. Don't be a shitbird like Darius Geis was, but
don't be a horrible human. So
yes.
It's funny. I'm because we can't do this on Sleeper yet, where it would give us a list of rookies at ADP. So I just pulled up a list of rookie names, and I'm using DLF's rookie rankings. And so far, neither one of us have taken their RB3 off the board. And I got news for you. He's not going now because there's someone I like a whole lot better. And as a contender, when I'm drafting at the 110, Jerry, you know what I like? I like guys that I like. And I'm going to take Sean Tucker from Syracuse. My goodness. I love these guys that come from, Syracuse isn't a poverty franchise. It's not Southwest Utah A&T State.
Right.
It's a good school. It provided a lot of, great legendary Indianapolis Colts like Dwight Freeney and Marvin Harrison Sr. But I really like this guy, 5'9", 210. A lot of fun to watch. He can catch the ball. Again, kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think if this guy had went to a Power 5 school, like let's say he was the running back for USC, and we saw him a lot more with Caleb Williams and a Jordan Addison in that offense, I think we'd be going bananas. And there would be an argument. He would be the running back too. He can catch the ball. He can make things happen in space. I love the size. I'm excited to see what his combine metrics, but based on the limited research that I've done so far and the conversations that I have had with, like I said, Bruce Mattson, and I'm going to have tomorrow night with Garrett Wilson, I'm going to go Sean Tucker. That one's going to be trouble on YouTube if you turn that T into an F. You see what I did there?
I'm cool with that one. My next pick is one that I've seen him go a lot earlier than where I'm going to take him. And I don't hate taking him here because I think he has issues that I will probably not draft this player a lot, would be my guess. It's Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver from TCU. He's a big body. He was highly productive on a very good team. He even, did really well against Michigan's defense in the college football playoff. And he's, I don't know, there's just something about watching him play where it's a lot of not like you said, not the modern NFL. He's not creating tons of separation. It's a lot of curl routes and then spinning the other direction as the player tries to tackle him. And I really just don't think that's going to work in the NFL. That said, he is a good prospect, and I can absolutely 100% be wrong on somebody. And that's why he's definitely a first-round talent. I will take him here. And if I'm at 111, I lost in my championship, and I don't think there's, you want to take the best prospect. And I think he is probably the best prospect in this range. So I'm going to take him. He's not my favorite guy. I will likely not have tons of teams with him, depending on how the draft shakes out. He's just, I don't know. He's like, there's a later round guy right down the road from me, Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State. He just reminds me of just a little bit better version of him. And I can get Hutchinson in the third round or the late second. So I don't think I will be investing in QJ like that.
Yeah, I want to like him. You look at some of the, oh my gosh, some of the graphs and charts you see on him physically. He's 6'4". He can scratch his ankles without bending over. Incredible wingspan. Good athlete. I just kind of the same. What offense is going to use him? Is he going to be heavily targeted at the NFL level? You got to create separation in a different way in 2023. I just don't think you can out athlete everybody.
Yeah.
So that I don't think we're doing him a disservice. I think you're getting a potentially this again. This is where you're a contender. You're contending. You finished as the runner up in your league last year. So you've done nothing wrong by drafting this guy. But for me, I would have. I'm going to continue to live by my personal motto, and that's draft running backs, and I'll trade for the wide receivers later. So I'm going to take Zach Evans. Now, he was a guy that Bruce and I spent a fair amount of time talking about last week. It's like he's the guy that feels busty. He feels like if there was a guy that was going to bust out of all of the names that we've talked about, and you were like to have like a warning sticker on there, he would have the highest rate of bust about him. I love the size, 6 foot 215. That's prototype. Good athlete. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about him. It just I don't see a guy like some of these guys that you see playing with passion. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I just see a guy that's just like playing to play. So at this point, if I'm a contender, and obviously with the 112, if I kept my pick, I won the league. And if I won the league, I probably did it on the backs of guys like Austin Eckler, guys like Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, et cetera, et cetera. And those guys are coming up into years 6, 7, 8 of their NFL career. And if I want to continue to contend, easy for me to say, but if I want to continue to contend for the years to come, I've got to be able to restock that running back position. So I'm going to go ahead and take one, and I'm going to take another running back, and I'm going to take Zach Evans. Jerry, I saw you nodding your head on some of my Zach Evans comments.
Yeah, I think coming into the rookie class, I think he was a 5-star kid. I think he was just behind Bijan. He played at TCU, and then he transferred to Ole Miss. He just wasn't super productive, but as far as when you watch him, I mean, bro looks good. I mean, and mostly I'm nodding my head at your sentiment to take running backs in this range because you already have a team, right? Like if you're picking 9, 10, 11, 12, you have a championship winning team. You may or may not have won it, but you have a team that can win it and was in a good position to win it, whatever happened to make you not. Running backs will always help you. Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when you have Damian Pierce or, Isaiah Pacheco or, those guys were plug and play in the playoffs. Right. And if you can get them and you can play them and they're useful and they can help you patch together a situation where maybe you have a championship team and you lost a running back. Well, maybe your opponent did too, but you have Isaiah Pacheco and they have, Quentin Johnston, who's, he might be a nice prospect, but he's not helping you win right now. Like it's just always going to take the running back because you're going to know if they're useful or not. Because if they're playing, you can plug them in. You're going to be good and have your 16 touches. But love the running backs at the end of the first round.
Well, and sometimes you wind up with a oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Darrell Henderson, that was the name I was thinking of. I remember drafting a lot of him in the 110 to 112.
P. Rhines and it happens for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes you get like a Monty. A Monty can fall a little bit later like this, but I mean, I hate to give the people that always talk about draft picks credit because I'm not in the credit business. But you know what? There are still a lot of really good, talented players. Like, we haven't even talked about, Keyshawn Butte, one of my favorite names of all time, Joshua Downs. I keep falling in and out of love with Jalen Hyatt. I mean, we're going to continue to talk about a lot of these guys. So I think right now, unless you're a true contender, if you're a true contender, I'm out there buying up veterans that are going to help me win. But I have no problem with, like, I think the top 20. I mean, we talk about Anthony Richardson. I mean, they're Devin Achane. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We have so many more guys to talk about, Jerry. But this is what makes mock draft season fun. And eventually, we'll get some more guests on here. So a little thing for the audience and for the patrons as well. Part of the reason why we've been recording on Sundays, it's just been easier for Jerry. Part of the reason why I've been doing guests on, Monday night live on YouTube, that's why you should be subscribed. But part of the reason why I've been doing that is I don't really want to ask football fans to miss watching football to talk football. It'd be like, a guy or a lady owns a bar and you ask them to come bartend at your bar when their bar's closed, because that doesn't feel right. So we'll be past the Super Bowl. We'll have a lot more guests. And Jerry, I've already got a verbal commitment from John Sheps and Nino from the Toilets to Titles guys. They're going to come on and talk wide receivers with us. And they're going down to the Senior Bowl in Montgomery. So they're going to bring some knowledge back from Mobile to share with us. But Jerry, we got a lot to discuss this offseason.
Yes, we do, and it is just the beginning, my friend. The beginning of a long and wonderful journey.
Yep. So we're going to continue to put out more and more content. We are going to end this live stream. I'm going to remind you of the patron. And speaking of the patron, that's what Jerry and I are going to go do. Jerry and I are going to go talk some more football. That way I can, put a little bonus content out for the patrons. And it's exclusive, but it's not that exclusive. If you got $5 a month, if you can go from a double Frappuccino Venti latte with an extra whip, and you can have a $1 black coffee from McDonald's, you too can come and hang out with us over at patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. Jerry, remember the scholarship, the patron Scully. Leave a rating and review. Leave the word Scully and a way to get a hold of you. Or you can sign up for the patron. We'll get you hooked up with an orphan. Jerry, a lot going on, buddy.
Yeah, and it's going to continue being that way. But we can all avoid. I'm trying to think of what my Starbucks order is. So hold on. It's a lot of words.
So I can tell you what mine is while you think. I'll buy you the time that you need to stall.
Okay.
Mine's pretty simple. I like a grande blonde, simple blonde roast. They don't always have it as crazy as that sounds. So I'll settle for a pike if they don't have it. Black like my soul. Now my wife, she's got this new thing where she's buying, like, it's not Cool Whip. It's like a healthier version of Cool Whip. And we got to put a shitload of that. Give me some fucking black. There's the one F word for the day. Give me some fucking black coffee. Or is this some coffee, Jerry? Black coffee. What about you? What's your order?
Okay. So I don't like to say it when I'm there because I feel like it's too much of a mouthful, and I just want to be the dude that's like, get me the coffee. But it is a venti iced brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso. So I always just say oat milk espresso because I don't want to be like, I got a flannel on and I got this beard and I got the super bendy bill hat. Like, I don't want to be, the hoity-toity guy in the Starbucks line. But also, the venti iced brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso is effing delicious. So I also want to enjoy it. Look at that. That wasn't even a Patreon. Everybody just got all of our Starbucks orders for that.
So I want to
go
out on this.
Just straight black coffee with a diabetic amount of sugar. Also, my thing.
So I listened to that order, and this is what I got.
Emotional damage.
I've got emotional damage from your Starbucks
Delicious.
order. So I'm going to have to hit the end record button. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. But on behalf of that man and his foo-foo Starbucks drink, you can follow him at Jerry Sin DWZ. You can follow me at DWZ Memphis. Please rate, review, and subscribe everywhere. It's the freest way and the best way to help us grow. Or check out Patreon, patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. And remember, here at the Dynasty WarZone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great week. So